The crisis in Ukraine has thrown the West into, so far, only a verbal conflict with Russia. But today there was one thing that the Russian Prime Minister and Britain's Foreign Secretary William Hague were agreed upon, that Ukraine itself was now on the brink. The country's armed forces today launched military operations against pro-Russian separatists, claiming to have recaptured an airport just outside of Kramatorsk, a city close to separatist-controlled Sloviansk. That brought Ukrainian forces into direct conflict with pro-Russian gunmen. Our international editor, Lindsay Hilsum, talked to Ukrainian forces they mustered just north of there on the road to a place called Kamyanka. She's also spent part of the day talking to villagers in Kumachove, right on the border with Russia. But she joins us now from another location called Izium, near where those Ukrainian forces are positioned. Lindsay, you've had a very busy day travelling around the country. Tell us, give us some sort of idea, because it's not very clear at the moment, of what is actually happening on the ground.
Matt, things are moving at a fast pace now. I'm just hearing another helicopter go past. We know that helicopters, we don't know how many, landed at the airfield in Kramatorsk just a few hours ago. Kramatorsk is about 65 kilometers south of where I am now. They retook that airfield from the pro-Russian forces we had been holding it before. Also, overhead Kramatorsk, there's now footage of a Ukrainian fighter jet that flew low over the city. Now, Russian media are reporting that there were casualties, including dead, but this is not confirmed by anybody else. And eyewitnesses say that what happened was that after the airfield was retaken, local people who were angry about that confronted the Ukrainian soldiers. The Ukrainian soldiers shot into the air, and there was some kind of altercation. What I think we can say for sure is that this is the most dangerous moment that Ukraine has seen so far. Coming into land, reinforcements for a unit of Ukrainian troops. They're stopped on the main road, just north of the towns where separatists have taken down the yellow and blue Ukrainian colours and substituted the Russian flag. They unloaded ammunition boxes and other supplies. The Ukrainian government says the anti-terror operation has now started. The Ukrainian armoured personnel carriers have been parked up here all day and half the night. The Ukrainian president says their forces are going to proceed gradually and with caution. Their commander was clear that they see Russia as the enemy.
This is happening because of the unprecedented intervention by a neighbouring country on sovereign Ukrainian territory. Note that this aggression is made in the most base way. Let's not mince words, it's a criminal act.
The soldiers were clear. They don't want the civil war the Russian government has predicted. Ukrainians, they said, should not fight each other.
Ukrainian people is not our enemy.
And the Russians?
Maybe.
They might be your enemy.
Russians who? Russian military? Yeah. Russian people? No.
Special forces accompanied the regular soldiers. At least one was killed on Sunday in an abortive attempt to take back the town of Sloviansk from the separatists. Initial attempts at moving armour into the area were also unsuccessful. Amateur footage uploaded yesterday shows a Ukrainian tank being challenged by men, presumably pro-Russian separatists, in a mustard-coloured Lada. They tell the driver to stop his tank. Your machine gun won't help, they shout. These are dangerous times. Not all such altercations may end as this seems to have done, with a handshake. Further south, near the Russian border, we drove with a convoy of locals determined to make Ukrainian forces leave their village. They confronted a small unit of Ukrainian troops who'd set up camp here several days earlier. You have nothing to fear, said the Ukrainian soldier. We are scared of you, they replied, and we want you to leave or come onto the side of the people. The people here are siding with the separatists, those who prefer Moscow. They want the soldiers to reject orders from the government in Kiev. But you live in Ukraine, and this is the Ukrainian army. They have the right to be here, don't they?
They don't have the documentation to stay here, and we don't recognize this government who sent them here. We did not elect them, and we don't support their decisions.
Whether they like it or not, Ukrainian soldiers are now being drawn into conflict with Ukrainian citizens, the very people they were always tasked to protect. Now, earlier today, the Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister said that Russian forces were already operating in eastern Ukraine. That is absolutely unconfirmed, but it shows how this propaganda war is going. And that, in a sense, is very dangerous because people believe what they hear from either the Russian side or the Ukrainian side. Just down the road, just a few miles from where I am, is the town of Slovyansk. That's controlled by heavily armed, uniformed, many of them masked, pro-Russian, I say armed men. They look like professional soldiers. Now, it is possible that the Ukrainian forces may try and get into Slovyansk at some point in the next few hours or days. If they do, that will be a flashpoint. And that is where everybody is looking now. Back to you, Jackie.
Lindsay, thanks very much.